Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Alex Avila with Love University. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on today's video. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Alex Avila with Love University, and we're back. I'm an author, psychologist, and speaker. Every week, we talk about how to love ourselves, others, and a higher nature, how to improve our finances, career, health, relationships, and spirituality. We have a very distinguished guest today on Love University, Lisa Tahir. She's a licensed clinical social worker, therapist, and author with over 27 years of experience in mental health. She combines psychotherapy, astrology, and spirituality for a holistic approach to mental health and emotional healing. She's the host of the All Things Therapy podcast and the author of the Chiron Effect, very interesting book here, Healing Our Core Wounds Through Astrology, Empathy, and Self-Forgiveness. She also has cats named Jiggy and Baby. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Dr. Avila, it's an honor and pleasure to be with you and our audience. I'm a fan of your show.
Thank you.
And thank you.
I'm very excited. Now, the most important question maybe today is, who's more spiritual, cats or dogs?
Oh, I feel like they're both intuitive and spiritual. They express it in different ways, I think.
Interesting. Well, they said that dogs have unconditional love for their people. Are cats the same? I don't know much about cats, as I don't have cats. You just look like you have a cat right there. So.
I do right here. She loves being in the videos. You know, yes. I think cats show it differently. Dogs are outwardly, in my experience, unconditionally loving, whereas cats will show you on their timeline that they're unconditionally loving, and they really have their own distinct energy, I think, and they need some alone time. In my experience,
I see. But in your case, the cat likes to be around you. I noticed. So
she does.
Now let's get into this stuff. It's very interesting. So you were talking about astrology and psychology all combined, and you have some interesting terms. So I want you to tell me about it. First of all, there's something called Chiron, which is a celestial body like a planet, but it's also a mythical creature, Greek creature. That's a half man, half horse. I guess they call it the centaur.
Yes. Yes.
And there was a myth about that he was injured by a poison arrow, and then he sacrificed his life to save another god, and then something happened. So tell us a little bit about this whole concept you're talking about.
It's interesting to me, Dr. Avila. I knew of Chiron from the work of Carl Jung, where he speaks about the archetypes, and Chiron, the wounded healer that we hear of in psychology. You know, I was led to explore this archetype more deeply and connect it with the Greek centaur, Chiron, who tutored Asclepius, the founding father of medicine. And when we go into the doctor's office today and see the staff of medicine with the snakes, Chiron gave that to Asclepius and mentored him. So we see this reference of Chiron everywhere in our daily lives. And I didn't know that was true. And when I explored Chiron, he also taught pharmacy, botany, psychotherapy, in addition to medicine. And he was really a very sensitive centaur. Most of the centaurs were warring, half men, half horse warriors. And Chiron had insight and intuition along with like the earthly passions and drives and desires we have. So he embodies our duality of drives also mediated by higher consciousness and thinking and thought. And I just thought how beautiful to start understanding our vulnerability on a spectrum from this perspective of Chiron in our astrological chart, which identifies where we psychologically experience wounding on a spectrum.
Right. So I think the interesting concept, one of the concepts is interesting, is you call him a wounded healer, this mythical creature. Apparently he got a poison arrow and then he couldn't heal himself, but he was healing other people. And then he sacrificed himself to save Prometheus, which is another god that was suffering also pain. So in a sense, he gave up his life, but also saved another person's life at the same time. He stopped his suffering and helped someone else stop their suffering. So how does that work in reality? Does that the way this works? We can stop our suffering by helping others stop their suffering?
Dr. Avila, I believe, yes, that when we seek to heal ourselves, do that deep work, those of us that have needed it, to heal from abuse, to heal from trauma, to heal from things that didn't go in a healthy way growing up. And when we choose to stop inflicting that kind of harm and hurt on others, we break cycles of violence, and as well, that part of our lives can become a gift that we use. We will become therapists or authors and psychologists or teachers and mentors and coaches. And in the way we help others, I think really mirrors the way that we've helped ourselves to heal
Yes.
and grow. Have you
By the way,
found
you're
that?
doing very good with my name, Avila. Most people get it wrong. You must be around Latino people or something.
I am. I have some Latina friends and Latino friends.
Exactly. Now, the other terms you talk about are the Chiron effect. Now, Chiron effect, something about a magnetic pole that toward your wound or your, I guess, vulnerability. And then what Freud talked about is the repetition, a neurosis, where you keep repeating certain traumatic aspects. So how does that tie into the astrology and the wounding? That's very interesting.
You know, Dr. Avila, we habituate people, places, and things every day, and we call that our routine. And I suggest that our routine is set upon the frequency of our largest limiting belief. We can't go beyond our largest limiting belief, if you think about that
Yes.
for a moment. And so when we have awareness of that, where we might limit ourselves in our thinking, which influences our beliefs and then the actions we take or don't take, we have choice over that. We can decide to learn the skills we might not have in the moment, so we can go beyond our current paradigm. And I see that as really healing the repetition compulsion, which is where we do things out of a lack of awareness. It might be in our shadow. We're not aware of things we're doing to hurt people or even ourselves, and to really start to look at ourselves through this Chiron placement in our birth chart. Just like we have a sun sign, a rising sign, a moon, Chiron is in one of the 12 astrological signs and reveals this placement of vulnerability and wounding on a spectrum. That for some people, it might just be an ouch, a vulnerability that doesn't impede their lives much. It's just a little ouch every now and then. For others, this might be a really deep wound, like I feel unworthy, I feel undeserving. And this is created and caused by things we experience typically growing up in our childhoods that we might not question as an adult. And I think questioning our beliefs is so important in healing ourselves.
Yeah, and the term wounded healer, I kind of like that. Now, I'm wondering if you're referring to just those people like people that are in therapy like us that do psychology, or is everyone a wounded healer in some way?
I think we all are, Dr. Avila, in some way, that we can come to understand how the things in our lives that might have been challenging can actually help us rise to serve at greater levels in the ways that we really want to, that light us up and make us happy.
Especially when you're petting the cat, you're releasing oxytocin. You know, there's that
Yes,
bonding hormone.
you are so right about that. Yes. Yes.
So that's comforting, I guess, having a creature next to you. Now, looking back at your history, now you mentioned in the book, which is actually very well written,
Thank you.
the idea that you as a child was listening to your grandmother, and she would tell you proverbs, you know, the biblical stories and all
Yes.
that, or you know, the sayings and all that, and that kind of got you into the spiritual mindset of seeking wisdom, but also being wounded. Now, how did you come up with this? Were you wounded yourself in some way? You being a sensitive, a healer type person?
Yes, Dr. Avila, I was a very sensitive child and didn't know that. And I grew up with verbal abuse and physical violence, and I didn't want to be like that. I didn't want to wound people with my words, and certainly not physically. So I started therapy at 21, and I knew when I met my therapist, who was a licensed clinical social worker, this is what I want to do with my life. And I really love helping people to heal, and especially those people that might feel like they can't, because I believe, yes, you can. With baby steps, we can absolutely change patterns of thoughts and beliefs and show up differently and expect differently from life as a result, and of ourselves.
Yes, that makes sense. I've had on my show Judith Orloff. I think you may have had her.
She's a friend of mine.
Highly
Yes.
sensitive person, yeah.
Yes.
And of course, Elaine Aron wrote the book on that as well. People that are sensitive to the environment, to certain things, and they're very deep feelings and empathetic, but they're also boundaries are an issue because they tend to over give to
Right.
people.
Yes.
So that's an issue now. In the book, you talk about the idea that the Chiron, it's a planet, right? It's a small
Yes.
planet, I believe you said.
It's a minor planet and comet in astronomy.
Okay. And basically the idea that you want to find out this unconscious, archetype of the wounded healer, I mean, the healing they have inside. and also transform it into compassion or self-compassion.
Yes.
Now, and then you talk about different parts of your life, for example, relationships, other parts, and also the astrological house, which, as you said, is a life sector of sensitivity. Tell us a little bit about the life house. How does that work?
So the houses of the zodiac are simply where your Chiron placement manifests. Does it manifest in your self-esteem and your personal identity that only you would know about, versus is it in your professional life, in the professional sphere of things? Does it have to do with your feelings around education versus the home you grew up in and the home you now have in your life? So it can help to know where this Chiron placement manifests, but you know that once you read about your Chiron placement. Is it wounding by neglect versus not feeling good enough, or in your connection to spirituality and the immaterial as examples?
So we're talking about how to heal the wound, right? So we all have these wounds, according to your approach, and astrologically connected, right, to the Chiron. Now, you do talk about certain, I guess, elements that can maybe help us, surpass these wounds. For example, you talk about hope as a fundamental predictor of something good that's going to happen.
Yes.
The belief that, things will work out well. I call it optimism. You expect the best. Tell us about hope. That's a big one.
I believe if we don't have hope, we're not open to things changing or getting better for us. And when it comes to emotional wounding, and I see it, Dr. Avila, on a spectrum that I know not everyone has deep wounds. For some of you listening or watching, it's an area of vulnerability because you feel ideally really good about yourself. And that's awesome. The people that came out of their childhoods with confidence and things being easier than others. So looking at this spectrum, vulnerability, wounding, to have hope in whatever area it is where we desire change, that is possible for me, that I can do this, that we can do this, is just a fundamental predictor of our desires manifesting and the changes happening.
Yes, it's beautiful. Also, you mentioned enlightenment. Now, I had Mary Wilson on my show here in 2020, where she ran for president.
Yes.
You mentioned that you also had her.
I did.
And she talked about enlightenment. You said you are loved, and the purpose is to love. Tell us about that.
Oh, Dr. Avila, I really believe love is why we're here. I believe that
Yes.
energy underlies everything. And I believe there's love, and then the absence of it when we're not in touch, when we're not aligned, when we judge ourselves and think awful and terrible, hateful thoughts towards ourselves and others, we disconnect from love. And I believe self-forgiveness is a doorway to reconnect to love and to be gentle with ourselves. And that helps us be more gentle with others, that we are so loved. And you can start to feel that more and more in your life as you want to look for it.
Yes, definitely. Of course, we're pretty much aligned because if you look up there, there's the word.
Yes. I love your show. Yes.
That's our energy is, loving yourself, others, and the higher nature
Absolutely.
is the idea. So when we talk about these elements, you talk about forgiveness, empathy, and compassion. I see a lot of the interrelatedness there. The idea that have unconditional love for yourself and for others. And apparently, the hardest thing for many people is to have unconditional love for yourself because we always regret, we criticize ourselves. You should do better, that kind of thing. How did you learn to forgive yourself or love yourself?
Dr. Avila, it was an intimate process in my own journey where I noticed when I was hard and critical for myself, the outcomes were shorter lasting than when I started to want to understand how do I learn and what helps me staying on the paths that I desire for the longer term. And it was through encouragement and ease and really my self-talk becoming such a best friend. Like, Lisa, you got this. I am with you. I'm really tapping into spirituality, to the love of God for me, of the universe, of the immaterial world, and that energy that animates everything, having more and more of an awareness of that presence and not being alone. We are so interconnected. And I started to seek connection with others, finding things that I share with others more than differ. And I think fundamentally we all do. We want to feel loved. We want to be seen. We want to be able to take care of ourselves and our loved ones. We want to be liked and laugh. And I think it's pretty simple, the things that connect us. And I want it to be about more of that in my life.
I see. Now, speaking to you, it strikes me that you may be on the Myers-Briggs. I wrote a best-selling book, Love Types, as you know, on compatibility,
Yes.
love. Is an INFP. INFP is a person who's internal energy, imaginative, intuitive, feeling, and spontaneous. Does that sound like you?
That is accurate.
Okay, so you have taken the test before, and you
I
turned out
have.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm similar actually, but those are only about 2 to 3% of the population. They're the
Wow.
philosophers, the meaning seekers, the spiritually focused people in the world. They're unique, and very very rare, but they're very very good helpers. Now, how about this? You talk about assuming responsibility for your own self healing.
Yes.
Now, many times people say it's other causes, other people or bad luck or different things that that's why I'm in my situation now. I mean, some of them may be true, but why is it important to take responsibility for your own self healing?
Dr. Avila, that is key. When we can step out of whatever story we've been telling ourselves and just be willing to see something differently and to ask oneself, hey, here I am in this situation. Maybe if, and I reference my mentor and friend, Catherine Woodward Thomas, who talks about even if there's just 1 or 2% responsibility that we have in a situation, for us to get to know that 2% will be life changing. That if maybe I position myself with a person to be minimized in some way, and maybe I people please too much, and that put me in a place where I wasn't being respected. And if I can, it doesn't mean how I was treated was okay or I'm excusing abuse, but when we take accountability and personal responsibility, it's so liberating that I'm going to stop showing up like that. I'm going to stop paying for everything, for
Mhm.
example, or I'm going to stop over giving. And that might feel really hard because you could fear, what if people don't like me or want me around? Chances are that's not going to happen. And you're going to find other ways to value yourself and other ways to show people you care. As just an example of something I've been learning about in my own life, to not give and allow others to give to me. Allow yourself to receive, changing that energy to allow people to meet some of your needs and wants and not have to do everything for everyone.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The overgivers and the healers have that scenario. Now, you mentioned something interesting in your book. You said that I think you're from New Orleans, that you came out to LA or California to start another practice. You wanted to have two practices, have two homes, but you couldn't afford it.
Right.
Now, were you living in your car at one point, or you had some problems at some point?
I had an office in Mar Vista, Los Angeles, and I asked the owners, I know this sounds crazy. Would you let me live in my office
Oh,
and shower down the street at a 24
oh,
hour fitness? And
wow,
my car was my mobile closet. It had my
uh,
clothes in it, my client files.
wow.
And they said, Lisa, there's something about your energy we like and trust. Sure,
Okay,
we're going to let you do that. And it what allowed me the couple of years to be able to afford my home in Los Angeles. And so if
I
I
see.
would have waited to be able to afford it all at once, I probably would not be there. And now it's been
Uh,
10 years, Dr. Avila, that
yeah,
I've divided my years, and I'm so
right.
grateful that I was willing to think outside of the box.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you did go for your dream. Now, you did mention earlier, and this was striking, that you said you're controlled by your largest limiting belief. So at the time, what was your limiting belief? I mean, obviously you did the move. Was there something holding you back at some point?
I think it was just how do I create more income to afford two homes, knowing that I can do it, just feeling for the path. And I just got very sensitive about it and heard if you
Hmm.
just start in the easiest way possible, living in a non-traditional way, out of your office, showering at a gym. But
Hmm.
but I learned during Hurricane Katrina,
Uh-huh.
where I was displaced for 2 years, and I actually lived
Right,
in my office for a
right,
bit when
right.
New Orleans was shut down.
Hmm.
And I thought back to that time. Like if I could get through Katrina, I can
Right.
get through anything. So this was
Yes.
actually easier than it
Yes.
might sound. I just pulled from that other experience that showed me my
Yes.
resilience.
Interesting. Yeah, I had one of my mentees, a friend of mine, is a public speaker, Latino guy, and he was very sharp, trained as an engineer, wears suits all the time. And then he said, Dr. Avila, I got to admit this to you. During this time we were working on speeches and stuff, I was actually homeless.
Wow.
But he said, I used to live in, I called it Hotel Toyota, what he called it, his car. And he had all his food and suits and but he was very impeccably all the time. You could never tell. And now he's doing very well. He's a very successful businessman, entrepreneur. So I guess there are people that go through these processes, right? But they have
Yes.
the mindset that they will be very successful and be able to
Yes.
help people. So how do you instill that? Let's say people are suffering financially, for example, right now in the U.S., certain parts. What is your advice to them in 2025, right? So we're looking now at the new year and resolutions and all that. People say, I want to make more money. I want to lose weight, find love. What's your advice to people like that? But they're held back by the limiting components.
I think the solution is embodied in both some practical steps and some spiritual and psychological steps. So, for the practical, I'm a big believer in not using credit cards a lot. So,
Oh,
if you have some credit card debt, I would suggest start paying that down and off and get help if you need help. There's some companies that can help the interest rates like stop accruing. And I'm feeling like somebody needs to hear that you can get help to start releasing yourself from that debt. And I think as well to set intentions for the new year rather than resolutions and write them down. I intend to have more financial freedom. I intend to be the person to attract the partner that I want to be with, and maybe looking at some changes you might need to make in your own mind or personality to be more of a receptacle for love, be more open to receive love. Those are just a couple things off the top of my head. What would you say to those people, Dr. Avila?
well, I think so. The self-limiting beliefs, I call them the critical inner voices, thought demons sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Regret, anger, fear. Develop what I call the invincible mind is a part of us, that we have inside that says you can do it. You can succeed, you can thrive. But we have to nurture that and build that stronger.
Yes.
Now, one thing that is very interesting is Jonathan, my producer, can you come in here? He's trying to slip in here. He's a big
Yeah.
guy. Say hi to Jonathan, my producer.
Hey,
Jonathan,
Jonathan.
Hey, how's it going?
very intelligent guy,
Yeah.
great producer. Now, let's talk about astrology because I find it very fascinating. I wrote the book Love Types, which is based on the 16 Myers-Briggs personality types. In astrology, we have the 12 signs. And I know that it's complicated. You have the rising sign. You have a lot of other stuff that goes on with it. Now, in your book, you talk about the Chiron, and then you break it down into different astrological signs.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to kind of maybe, if you can give a little analysis of Jonathan. I'm going to tell you his sign based on the Chiron. If that's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And we go, and then figure it out based on that. Before I do that, now the one critique of astrology, you may have heard this before, is that it can come across as kind of general, a lot of generalities, and it may apply to different people. What's your response to that?
So I see astrology as a beautiful symbolic language.
Hmm.
And I used to struggle with astrology because I believed it to be something someone else is telling me,
Hmm.
like the stars were this certain way and that
Right.
dictates who I am. And I
Yes.
had the biggest download in meditation. No, that's not the
Oh.
case at all. I wrote my chart, and so did you, that we
Ah.
wrote the chart that we have, and we have
Yes.
free will to change anything about our
Ah.
lives, about ourselves that we want to. The chart is just a language that of experiences we thought we wanted to have. But now that we're here, we get to decide
Hmm.
more of our experiences.
Interesting. Do you see it as a metaphor for psychology? Do you see it as a scientific reality? How do you see astrology?
I do. I see it as a beautiful blueprint and language, like a symbolic language. Like there's so many languages people speak. It's just one way to understand ourselves, like human design is, like the Myers-Briggs is. It's just
Hmm.
a model and a template, I think, to learn more about
Interesting.
ourselves in life.
I see. Now, sometimes I try to guess people's signs, and sometimes I can do it, and sometimes not. I don't
Okay.
know. You're like a water sign, maybe?
I am not.
You're not.
I
Okay.
am not.
Fire. No, Aries.
I have some fire.
That's a fire.
I
Okay.
have some fire.
What is your
Yes.
sign, if I can ask?
I'm a Gemini sun sign, so air. But then
Okay.
my rising and moon are Aries, so lots of fire.
Interesting. Okay. I'm Gemini with Cancer rising.
Wow.
So there you go.
Okay. So is home really important to you?
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. But okay, now I'm going to talk about Jonathan now. He's an interesting guy. Now, you never met Jonathan, right? You don't know anything about him.
I don't know anything about him.
First time. So I want you to tell me as much as you can. And I've read it also. And I thought it was incredibly accurate about him. So Jonathan here is Chiron in Virgo. Chiron in
Okay.
Virgo. Okay. So tell us about him.
So Chiron and Virgo, Jonathan, has to do with health and your associated routines, and maybe at times not prioritizing your health in the way that it's needed and even being neglectful of it. Yet at the same time, you really like some order and routine. You can be really organized, but maybe you can be neglectful of that for yourself. Is that at all accurate?
Yeah, like lately I've just been like over scheduling myself in like a stressful kind of way. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's my current era currently, if that makes sense.
So something that might help you if you're not already doing it is before you commit to something to just simply pause and say, let me get back to you on that after I check my schedule, and then actually take time to check your schedule before you commit. Do you do that already?
I try to, but it's like like oh, if that block's taking up my whole day, then I have like a little tiny space for something else. So I feel like I'm prioritizing other people or other opportunities as opposed to prioritizing me and my health or my free
All right.
time.
Let me add to that. Now I want you, Lisa, to jump in on this, see how much of this is accurate. According to this, you're saying that he is someone that the core wound is perfection, never good enough, and trying to manage a lot of things. Kind of like a giver, the kind of person that's always helping other people, but sometimes neglecting their own self-care.
Yes.
And sometimes it can be even hypochondriacs. Are you a hypochondriac, Jonathan?
Please define hypochondriac.
That would
Do you
be
think you're,
somebody that has too many, like they have an overwhelming number of health. I don't sense that that's in your energy.
you ever
Like,
talk about I'm feeling sick a lot or anything? I got headaches or not?
I was sick like 2 weeks ago, but the
Oh,
flu's just going around lately.
okay. Nothing crazy. Okay.
I think
But,
you're more in the neglectful of, not putting yourself first as much as you
uh,
need to.
he's a dependable provider and a great friend. He's a security seeker, the caretakers and the Myers-Briggs ISFJs. But tie it into this. This is really fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty spot on, I would say. It's kind of creepy actually.
And I think an affirmation for you is really believing, like I want to believe I can put myself first when I need to.
Ah, interesting. You want to say that? Repeat that, Jonathan?
I want to put myself first. Screw
And I
everyone
want to
else.
No, no,
believe
no.
that I
Wait a minute. Wait a
can.
minute.
I want to believe that I can put myself first. So we
Ah,
can
I
be
want to believe
you
that I can.
and them, not you or them.
I like that. You and them. Okay. So here's some of the stuff you recommended. Now I'm going to go through this and tell me what you think. So Jonathan, she's suggesting that you do an exercise where you write down all the good qualities about yourself, because you need to believe, right, that you have good qualities. But put a star next to the ones that may deplete you. For example, I help my friends a lot. I may even stay up all night or something, but that can take away your energy, right? According to Lisa. Is that correct, Lisa?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that works. All right. Also, they said set boundaries. Tell people maybe, can someone else help you this time? I'm really kind of tired. Can you do that, Jonathan, or is that hard for you to turn people down?
I like to be the nice guy. I normally say yeah all the time. Like honestly, after this, I have dinner plans, and then one of my other friends is like, "Hey, you want to hang out?" I'm like, "I'm too busy. I'm so sorry." So it's like
Oh, okay. So you can set boundaries, or is it hard for you to do that?
I don't like saying no. Yeah,
Right. So they would say, well, can I help me take my car over here? Can you come with me?
and normally I'll be like, yeah, because I feel like I'm a dependable friend. So
See that?
But
And do
let
you
me
ever
help.
loan money to people too? Do
huh?
you ever loan money?
Yeah, sometimes.
All right. So see what's going on here, Lisa? He's,
I do.
yeah.
And Jonathan, I think it might help you to know for you to say a no to somebody, it doesn't mean a no forever. It might just be a no right now, but like circle back next month and I'd be happy to revisit that with you. That might feel better to you.
Oh,
Mm,
interesting.
yeah.
I like that. So open-ended, like I can help you in the future. Is that
Yeah.
is that for him to feel better about saying no, or
Yes. And I think it'll make it easier and softer. I think a no for
ah,
you needs to be softer for you to
ah,
feel okay about it.
interesting? Yeah, the way you said screw you, but that was a joke. But you wouldn't really say that, right? No.
I would think it. I would never say it.
Oh, okay. He's just a super cuddly guy. And then I asked him, Jonathan, today, have you been working out? And what did you say to that?
I said no because I've just been too busy, either work or making plans with other people or like trying to provide, be there for my parents or for my family or whatever.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, and he has 3 jobs, by the way, besides working with me. So,
Okay. So
yeah,
you're really
busy guy.
tenacious. You're
Yeah.
tenacious
oh, okay.
and ambitious. And it's also the holidays. So maybe prioritize what you can kind of vacation from for a moment to
Mhm.
take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Right. That's important. Now you mentioned things like setting up doctor's appointments and things to
In
exercise
advance.
in advance, right?
hmm
When was the last time you saw a doctor?
Last year probably.
Last year. Okay.
Okay, that's okay because it sounds like you're a healthy guy.
He's fairly young, 30 or something, right? More or
Yeah.
less. But
Yeah.
still, I guess the key is now. Here's an affirmation you said here, Lisa, in your book, which is really cool. And by the way, you broke it down to other people too, right? You have a whole chart that
Yeah.
analyzes the chirons, right, in different birth signs. It says here, read this actually, if you want to read this, Jonathan. This is from Lisa's book.
I am flexible, healthy, whole, amazing life of balance. Allow time for myself and others. Allow for imperfections.
Some
What do you think of that, Lisa?
affirmations, yeah, that you can tweak. I would suggest writing down a couple of these and tweaking them so they really fit you. And it might be, I want to have balance, because right now you don't, and that's okay. But like, I want to have more balance and I want to have more time for myself. So you're not being critical, you're being like supportive. And then the question you can think of, well, where might I take that time from for myself? And who might I say, not this week. Let's do that. Let's push it to next week to create some space for you.
Interesting. So if he says a hard no, Lisa, is that going to be too hard for his system because he's not used to that, to the people?
How do you feel about that, Jonathan? A hard no for anything?
I feel like I'm just letting people down, honestly. So
You feel
But
guilty?
what about letting yourself down?
Ah,
Because you might be letting yourself down.
I just feel like at this point I'm used to it, and that's the problem. So
oh, okay.
Who do you think might want to help you with that in your life, in your family, in your friends?
I guess this is interesting. So I feel like the people that like I go out of my way to help, I feel like they would want me to help myself in some
Okay, good.
capacity. Yeah.
Then talk to them about it, because if
Yeah.
they can help you, you can say, I need some help with this.
hmm
And maybe they'll help you be accountable. Like, hey, don't do this for me this week. Why don't you go, man? Like, why don't you go why don't you go work out? Why don't you go do what you need to do?
hmm
Ask them to help you with that.
Is that true? I thought you told me some ex-friends they took, but they never get back. Is that different from the real friends you have?
I feel like nowadays because I'm more open with myself and my personality, my personality or whatever, I feel like I manifest better friends.
Oh, okay, good.
But
Good. Yes.
Because I think you said you used to have users that would just use them for a time, right, and then disappear.
yeah,
Well, I'm glad you got rid of that pattern.
yeah.
Bravo.
Right. So, Lisa, where do you think this comes from? He has a pretty stable, like, loving family, right? Intact mom and dad. This self-esteem issue, where does this come from in the Virgo?
Well, I'm
I'm sorry,
wondering,
this is not
it's
Virgo. This is, what is this again?
yeah, in Virgo, Chiron and
Oh,
Virgo.
Virgo, yeah, okay.
It's different for everyone, but I'm wondering for you, Jonathan, if it sounds like you really love your family, and I don't know if there's a cultural norm of like really taking care of your family and
Latino, right?
supporting
Yeah,
them.
basically. And I'm just like trying to make I'm trying to make them proud, like I'm a first generation
Oh
Latino
yeah.
American in my family, so like I'm trying to like step up to the plate and
Well, you have to honor that within
yeah.
yourself. I think do it with just a little more like noticing of yourself, a little more including of yourself. And it's okay
hmm
to share that with them and ask them to help you
hmm
to
Oh,
include
thank you very
yourself.
much, Jonathan. Good job. Appreciate it.
Really nice,
So,
by the
so
way.
go
Awesome.
there and exercise today and take a break, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's kind of nice. Well, Lisa, this is wonderful. So you really have a great program here to help people, astrology and psychology, right? You're combining the
Yes.
two
And spirituality
dynamic and spirituality.
with personal
Okay.
responsibility.
Okay, interesting. Now, you did mention something about loneliness, and one of our goals here is to help eradicate loneliness at Love University, connecting people. And the idea, I think you said, is that disconnection is the biggest, one of the biggest problems, disconnected from ourselves, from others, and, let's say from the higher or the spiritual. So how do you work with that in your system? Is it, how to be more connected?
Dr. Avila, I look for ways to connect. And even in Los Angeles, I volunteer on
Wow.
Skid Row at the Fred Jordan
Oh,
Mission.
wow.
And the week of Thanksgiving, I went and I served that week to feed the homeless. And we served, I think, 400 meals in a few hours
Awesome.
to the residents of Skid Row, the women, children, and men. And in that way, I was so filled with blessings and gratitude. I think sometimes we just need to get outside of ourselves and go do something radically different like that. It really can help change your mindset and paradigm and help you. I think gratitude is so important to really appreciate the things that are working well in your life and focus on those some more with
Exactly.
real appreciation.
Yes. So I think if I could just summarize it from my perspective,
Yeah.
your tremendous work is the idea of love, loving yourself, forgiving yourself, loving others, and then loving something higher, and connecting that to the wounds that you had in the past, right? To heal yourself, and so you can also love others more. Because I guess many times healers and givers need to heal themselves because they have more energy to give to others.
Yes.
and that kind of thing. I can see that. By the way, tell us a little more about your programs. Do you have a website? Where can people learn more about your book? I know you do some coaching as well.
I do. Thank you. Yes, my website is nolatherapy.com, NOLA therapy.com, stands for New Orleans, Los Angeles Therapy.
Ah,
That's
okay.
also my Instagram,
Yes.
NOLA Therapy. And I do one-on-one sessions with people. I really love doing that. My book is an offering. My podcast you mentioned, All Things Therapy, that I'm going to have you on in the new year.
All right. Yeah, I'd love to have you on their show. Chiron Effect is your book. Is this your first book, Lisa?
It is.
Oh, incredible.
Thank
That's
you.
wonderful to be able to get your knowledge out there. And where do you see yourself in the future? So you do coaching, the writing. Do you ever do workshops? I mean, I'd love to maybe work with you in the future.
I love that. That's what I'd
together.
love to do is more workshops.
Okay, workshop. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And your mission, if you could just summarize it in one phrase for people as they hear it.
Changing consciousness, one conversation at a time, changing our minds, changing our hearts through what we're doing right now.
Perfect. All right. It's been wonderful having you on the show, Lisa. So again, it's NOLA Therapy, I think you said?
Yes.
.com. Okay.
Thank you.
People can hear more about you. So until next time, this is Dr. Alex Avila. So go out this week and love yourself, others, and a higher nature, and then give love without expectations. Put away your notebooks, your iPads, your phones. Class is now dismissed. That was a wonderful interview with Lisa Tahir, licensed social worker, author, therapist, and healer. And she talks about the fact that we'll have wounds inside ourselves from childhood, perhaps, even as adults, that are unconscious. We don't really realize them, but they're in our pattern. We need to, first of all, acknowledge them, understand them, forgive ourselves. And she ties it into astrology, which is very interesting. But even aside from that, the idea that many of us through our life, we have this very powerful sensitivity in some area. Maybe it's finances, relationships, career, self-esteem, whatever it might be. But we can learn how to uncover that, how to acknowledge it, the weakness, the wound, and also how to have power through what I call the invincible mind, the part of our mind that is strong, passionate, these in ourselves. And then we can give love to others without expectation. So until next time, this is Dr. Alex Avila. Make sure you follow us, like us on the social media links below. Until next time, put away your notebook, iPad, phone. Class is now dismissed.